All right, you should have had an opportunity to try the Quick Select tool. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. It really works very well, I think. Probably one of the best selection tools. We've covered just about all the selection tools except now there's one more up here in this little group, and it is the Magic Wand tool. The Magic Wand tool works well if you have very solid colors that aren't gradient colors of any kind. For instance, if I'm in here in this area, in this green area, and I click just in one of the green spots, you see it only really selects that little area because all the other greens around here are gradient type colors, so it doesn't really select all of them. If I hold the shift key to add to my selection and click out here, I get a little more. And if I click down here and add a little more, I can keep adding. However, before long, if I click out here, I'm going to start getting into my butterfly here, and I don't really want that. So the Magic Wand tool works very well if you are going to just select solid colors. Let's say you've got a really nice landscape photo, and you've got a really blue sky, and you want to select just the sky, and it's just a kind of a solid blue color. The Magic Wand tool works very well for that, but for this situation, it's not going to work very good. Anytime you've got a good solid color without all this variation, you can use the Magic Wand tool to select, and it works very, very well. Okay, excuse me. Now, once we have all of our selections, there's several things we can do. You might be saying, well, what's the point? What's the point of making all these selections and making all these layers over here? Well, the point is once you make the layers, you can do a lot of things with them and without destroying your original image. I can come up here and I'm going to go to my Move tool, and I'm going to come down here and make sure that my Quick Select, the last selection I made, is active. The window is active and it's visible. I'm going to come over here then, and I'm going to simply click with my Move tool on the butterfly, and I'm going to drag him off over here. Now that is this layer, the Quick Select layer, and now I've got two butterflies. Okay, so you can kind of see an application already. If you can make selections of different areas, you can move them to a different area on the image. I can also take this selection and move it to a different file, which is what you'll be doing when you make your collage file. Now, once you actually move it off there, now again, I'm on the Quick Select, there are several things I can do. One of them might be I want to reduce the size of this. Well, I can transform this in many, many ways. In order to transform, you go up to the Edit menu, click on Edit, and come down here. You can come to either Free Transform or Transform. I kind of like to do the Free Transform because once you select the Free Transform, if you right-click inside the image, inside this box, you get all the same selections as you get from the transform. The other thing I like about Free Transform is there's a hotkey, Control T, and it opens up the Free Transform tool. I'm going to click back inside here now. What I can do now is if I click on one of these corners and hold the Shift key at the same time, I can simply click and drag, and my butterfly, I can size it bigger or smaller, and by holding the Shift key, it allows me to constrain the proportion so it stays the same. If I don't hold the Shift key, I might end up squashing it or flattening it. It doesn't scale proportionally. If I hold the Shift key and do it, it scales exactly proportionally. Now maybe you don't want to scale it proportionally, that's kind of up to you, but in the event that you do have a selection that you want to scale proportionally, holding the Shift key allows you to do that. Now if I click and drag from the side, even holding the Shift key doesn't help me. You have to click and drag from the corner in order for the Shift key to take effect. Now let's say I made some changes and I don't really like what I ended up with because I've got my butterfly and it's kind of elongated and it's kind of messed up, and I can just simply hit the Escape key on the keyboard and it doesn't take the thing. Now I can go back and Control T, which brings up my Free Transform tool. Hold the Shift key, drag it down, there's my butterfly. Now I can also, if you watch the cursor, when you move outside this box, it's like the crop tool in Photoshop. If you move outside the box, you see the little cursor change to a kind of a curved arrow with the arrow on both ends. I can simply click and drag, and now I can rotate that butterfly and actually make it look like it's in a different place. The other thing I can do is I can right click in here and I can flip this image horizontally, and I can flick this image vertically. So I can actually flip it around so that it's actually kind of opposite. Actually, I've kind of flipped it around so it's now exactly the same. I can also take and click and drag it all the way through and flip it over this way like that. Okay, I'm going to take that. I like that, so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to simply double click inside here, and that's going to make my butterfly. Now the other thing I can do is once I've got one layer that I really like, let's say that's really my favorite selection, and I want to make duplicates of that layer rather than reselect this butterfly again and again and again, I can simply right click on the layer itself, go up here to duplicate layer, right here, duplicate layer, click on it, and it'll ask me what I want to name it. Quick select copy, or I can name it quick select number 2, and I can say OK. Now I've made a copy of that layer. If I come down here with the move tool and drag this guy out, now I've got a copy. So now I've got two of the same. Again, I can do Control T on this layer, and I can drag him out a little bit. I can rotate maybe just a little bit more this way. Maybe I want him to come in over here this way like that. And I double click, and that's how you can do it with the transform tool. So you can transform your butterfly. The other thing you can do once you have these selections, and again, you have to make sure that you're on the layer you want to work on. If you want to choose one of these layers, you simply right click on it, and now I'd click quick select. Now this one is available. Let's say I want to change the color of the butterfly. Well, that's simple. I know I'm on this layer right here. If I move it, that's the layer I'm on. I'm going to simply go up to the image menu, click on the image menu, come down here to adjustments, and come over to adjustments to hue and saturation. I'm going to click on that. Now you'll see you get this palette up here that's got these color sliders. Well, let's start with the bottom one. Lightness is just how bright or light the colors are. So I can lighten up the colors to almost white, and I can darken them down to black. You see, so you can kind of adjust that. The next one, the second one in the middle, is saturation. That's how much color there is there. So I can add more blue, and I can take less away, so I can make it actually a grayscale just by taking the saturation all the way down. Saturation is the amount of color. Then hue is the actual color itself. So I can change this butterfly to a nice pink color. I can saturate it, or I can take the saturation down just a bit, and I can change the lightness or darkness just a little bit and click OK, and there I've got a new butterfly, a completely new butterfly. So I can come down to this one. If I right click on it, this is the quick select 2, so I click on that one. Now I've got this one selected. I can do the same thing. Image, adjustments, hue and saturation. Now notice the hotkey, Control U. That's a good one to remember, because you can just go right to Control U and you don't have to go up to the menu. All right, let's make this one a different color. Let's make him, how about kind of a yellowish? And I can brighten that up just a little bit, and I can darken it or lighten it. Usually the lightness and darkness doesn't need to be too much. Then I can simply click OK. Now I have 3 different butterflies. You can do the same thing. You click these different layers, or I can turn another layer on. Simply, activate it, and simply drag that one out. Now I've got another one yet. So why don't you go ahead and try some transforming through the Edit, Transform, or Control T. Make sure that your layer is selected that you want to transform, and then try Hue and Saturation to adjust the colors.